Welcome to the AI Applied podcast. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about a fascinating story, and that is the fact that Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, is coming in. He's the founder, or sorry, I guess he's the chairman of a company called Sandbox AQ, an AI company, and they are looking at raising money at a $5 billion valuation. Now, this is a really interesting story. There's a lot that goes into it. They're doing stuff with quantum computing and AI and all sorts of fascinating things. We're going to get into this whole story. Before we get into the story, I wanted to say if you're interested in making money with AI tools or growing and scaling your current business with AI tools, I would love for you to join the AI Hustle School community. This is a school community that I essentially every single week I create exclusive content for that I don't post anywhere else, outlining the exact AI tools I'm using, the exact workflows, and everything I'm doing to grow and scale my businesses, my software companies online, and using AI to do different side hustles, making money online, something that Connor and I both talk a ton about as it's really fun and something we're both passionate about. So there's a community of over 180 people. It's $19 a month. I'll probably increase the price to $100 a month in the future. But if you join now, you can lock in that price and it will never be raised on you. So yeah, if this is something that you're interested in, making money or growing and scaling your business, I would love to have you as a member of the community. The link's in the description. You can check it out. Now, let's get into exactly what Eric Schmidt is doing with Sandbox AQ. So the thing that I think is really interesting here is we are seeing a lot of these kind of legends in the tech space, and they're coming in and some of them were retired, some of them were stepped out, some of them were currently working at companies. And with this huge wave of AI that we've seen over the last couple of years, a lot of the legends in the tech company are coming back in, starting a new company or getting on the chair or becoming involved in their leadership and are raising astronomical rounds of funding. So this is no exception to the case. Eric Schmidt is coming in for a $5 billion valuation for this company. Now, Eric Schmidt, everyone knows from Google, but what's interesting with this company, which is Sandbox AQ, is that this was actually a spin out from Google. So it obviously was used to be part of Google, spun out to be its own company, and it is a moonshot company, meaning it's doing some very innovative and unique things, but this has not stopped it from being able to raise a lot of money. So they raised $500 million early last year, and we've kind of been sitting around waiting to see what comes out of this company since this is almost almost 2 years now coming up since that raise. What's interesting here is a bunch of people are telling Bloomberg now. Bloomberg has been reporting that they're looking for a $5 billion valuation. What's interesting is most recently they actually raised at a Reuters reported that they raised it at about a $4 billion valuation when they did that $500 million. So we're seeing an increase. This was about 2 years ago now. We're seeing an increase of about a $1 billion valuation. I think it goes to show just how frothy, especially early 2023 valuations were for companies. Coming out of the gate at a $4 billion, and then 2 years later, after a lot of work, bumping up to $5 billion. I don't think that's bad for the company. I think there's some impressive things going on here, but it does show that things were quite frothy, and it's hard to always keep up with that. So Sandbox AQ is a really fascinating company that's doing a lot of things. They're working essentially to try to help companies add more AI and solve some of their solutions. It feels like they're doing some more unusual things. It's not like a ChatGPT kind of tool. They really work with cybersecurity. They work with AI and quantum sensing. They work with large quantitative models. And while they're not actually building quantum computers, Google is still doing that. They are building some software that is used by quantum computers and kind of quantum computing. So that's a lot of what they're focused on right now. So with all of that, in the past, they raised that $500 million, and they brought on a bunch of really solid investors, including Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce. So it's going to be interesting to see how things shift if they do raise another round at a higher valuation, and who kind of piles into this thing. So all of this is being led by Jack Hidier. He is known as a longtime XPRIZE board member. All of this was spun out of Alphabet into its complete own startup back in March of 2022. And he was set as the CEO at that time. And then, of course, you have Google CEO Eric Schmidt that came in as the chairman shortly after. So when you look at what they're actually trying to do, I looked at their site a little bit. it's a little tricky sometimes to see a very clear path on exactly what they do. And I feel like they're sort of finding their way, which is kind of funny, but they have some big people on board and a lot of money. So I don't doubt they'll be able to be successful. But a lot of people, TechCrunch in particular, said that their mission is a veritable alphabet soup of buzzwords to work at the intersection of quantum computing and AI, but it is not building a quantum computer. So anyways, I think this is interesting. Their CEO recently said he did an episode with Peter D. Himandis on his podcast. And just like a week ago, I think. And during this specific episode, when he was interviewed, he said something quite interesting. So I want to read a quote from that. But essentially, he was saying that instead of, just building the quantum computers, they're building software based on quantum physics that can model molecules and make predictions of their behavior. So essentially working with some of Google's current quantum computing projects, but not on the computers, on the software. And they also have a bunch of different quantum computing partnerships that they have already done. So this is a startup that has a lot of really crazy projects underway, and they're not even all in the same category. So it makes me feel like it's like searching for product market fit, but maybe not. Maybe they just have a lot of talented people. But in any case, they're working in life sciences, material sciences, navigation, encryption, and cybersecurity. These are all fascinating areas, but this is not a company I really hear talked about a lot, except for whenever they come up to raise money. But that doesn't mean that they're dead in the water or not working on things. So, well, they're not doing any sort of ChatGPT thing. Their CEO has explained that they are, quote, instead of the world of large language models, we've now entered the world of large quantitative models, LQMs, and LQMs are about starting with equations to generate data. That's the most efficient way to generate data and the most accurate way to generate data. So they are, really focusing on things, essentially having these AI models do what we criticize ChatGPT of not being good at, which is quantitative data, doing math, doing calculations, some of the stuff that you can't mess up, you can't hallucinate on. They're really focused on those industries and are using AI in ways that is going to be is much, much better at accomplishing some of those tasks. So who are they working for? Are they making money? Are they actually doing anything? And the answer is yes. I'll tell you about a bunch of the contracts and things that they're currently working on, who they're working with, because I think that some of them are quite impressive. They're working on one project in particular on extending lithium ion battery life with the battery company Novonix, so helping use AI for that. They also have a contract with the US Air Force to develop magnetic navigation systems that don't rely on GPS. They're working with a bunch of different US hospitals on an AI-powered magnocartograph system. So this is kind of a new medical device that they're inventing or helping to partner or pioneer the technology behind, that essentially is for imaging people's hearts, and also a bunch of other projects. So they're like these like batteries, the Air Force, the medical field, these are all completely different, but you can see this is definitely a moonshot company working on very creative things. So they're not going to be, working on a lot of the buzzy direct to consumer or even business consumer startup AI projects that we're seeing now. But I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's going on. Now, what's interesting is it's a very hot company, and right now there's a bunch of venture capitalists that are putting money in. We've seen a lot of big players, and especially when you have people like Mark Benioff getting on board, and the former CEO of Eric Schmidt of Google being the chairman. Like, people are very interested in putting money into this. They have a lot of confidence in it. So what's interesting is a bunch of investors throughout this year have set up SPVs, so special purpose vehicles, to essentially buy shares of the company. And if you do a search, you can go find it over on formds.com. But you can see some of the SPVs that have been set up to essentially buy, 12 million, 1 million, millions of dollars of shares in Sandbox AQ. And what this really means is that venture capital or firms might not even have all the cash, or maybe they do or they don't, but it's not in, they're not going to put all of their own money directly into buying the shares of the company, but they got some sort of allocation, right? So they talked to Sandbox AQ, and they're like, hey, we want to buy $12 million. And they said, fantastic. Maybe they didn't have the money. So they went to a bunch of other firms who all pitched in like $1 million. And so essentially the one firm kind of has this pooled investment fund that they put together to buy shares. But it just shows that, like, a lot of these VC funds, they might not have a big enough check to entice Sandbox AQ to work with them, but they're like, please let me just throw $1 million in. So they find these SPVs and are kind of putting that together, which I thought was really interesting. It shows there's a serious demand for a lot of these companies. So SPVs are a very hot financial tool right now. And it seems like Sandbox AQ is definitely benefiting from this. So absolutely fascinating story. I'm excited to follow Sandbox AQ. I think it's one of those companies you do not hear talked about a lot, but they're getting contracts with the military. They're working with big healthcare companies. So I think this is one that you may not hear talked about on your day-to-day, but it's going to be one of the big winners in the AI space. Obviously, a spin out of Google, they would only have spun it out if they thought this was going to be a viable business. And so I think this is this one I'll definitely keep you up to date on as we go forward in the future. So thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. And again, if you're interested in making money with AI tools, I would love to have you as a member of the AI Hustle School community with over 180 people that are from $100 million companies to brand new startups. They share everything they're working on. We all vet each other's ideas and give each other feedback. It's an incredible group, support group if you're making money online with AI tools or with your own business. So would love to have you as a member. Again, a link in the description. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast today. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next episode.